Hello, Banu. Like
Hello.
how you pronounce your name? Banu?
Banu.
Banu.
Banu. The accent is on the ba. No, Banu.
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 It's same like always my name, Agris, you know, wherever I travel the world, somebody calls me Agris or Agris, you know, like
The accents change. So the Turkish way, I'm from Turkey, the Turkish way will be Banu. We stress the first syllable.
nice. Banu,
Oh,
tell a little bit your story.
oh yes. Let me do that. So I was born in Turkey, but I traveled the world from childhood. My father was a military officer, so we ended up traveling within Turkey and then around the world in different places. So I went to school in different places as well, like in Pakistan, in Italy, in Cyprus. You know, so that was like a lot of different things I learned, and I would call myself a world citizen because of that. After graduating, I went into the business world, and I have been working in the IT industry for 24 years now, a full 20 years, yes. And I'm majorly in sales. I've done other roles as well, services, marketing, category management, but lately in sales and sales management, which I found out later is part of my design to be a salesperson as well. And then I also started teaching BG5, which is the business application of human design. So that's my journey in like, I don't know, like 2 minutes maybe.
Yeah. And this is where I met you at BG5. You were my teacher there, and actually I enjoyed it so much. Lots of wisdom out of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate your invitation for me to be here with you guys on this podcast with Mark and you.
Yeah, I'm curious, how are you going into that business world and exploring that side of the business? Obviously, it's like I don't say that human design is something spirituality, but we know that human design kind of came from channeling.
Yes.
Whatever the teachings, right? It came from channeling, right? He received the messages how to lay this all in beautiful teachings. So
yes.
How did you came to this? It's very interesting.
Oh, it is, yes. So I think it started off with me trying to heal myself. So I was working very hard in the business world. It was always important to me to accomplish things. So I was like, even in school, I had to be successful. I was the valedictorian of my class during high school. I graduated with honors, high honors from my master's degrees. I had this push to be successful in life. I started my career early and I went up, quick as well. But it was important to be successful for me. And with the children and everything going on, I was putting too much pressure on me, which started taking its toll on me. So around my 30s, closer to 35, I would say, I started, looking for, why am I in this world? I didn't come here to sell software. I sell software now. So I didn't come to the world to make some sales numbers and drive some sales results and sell software to the world, obviously. But why am I here? So I was doing some soul searching and also trying to heal myself. So I went to a few workshops. I became a breathing facilitator. And there I started also waking up to my mind and how it rules everything that I do. And it's not necessarily telling me the good things for me because it's full of things that I have been taught all my life, all the conditioning that I got. So I started my breathing practice, breathing facilitation, plus some mind coaching in that where I met it. And there I met human design. And when I was doing that the mind coaching bit, there was like a couple of days on human design, like an intro about how people are designed and how the mind comes in to help us, work with the people there. And then I was so drawn into this human design, I couldn't wait for the instructor, for the teacher to get there. And when I was there, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so drawn into this. And then later, I just got a message. There was like a free class I could join, which was from the BG5 Business Institute, by the way. So I said, like, I'm so drawn to human design. I'm reading the books, everything I can find on internet. But then the business application of it, the BG5, is I thought, like, I come from the business world. I've spent almost 20 years here. So this is where I could add my own value, right, into it, the application of it and all that. So that's how I started. I started learning for me. I started telling to people around me. And then I had many recognitions and invitations that led me to be a worldwide teacher for it, for the Institute. Yeah.
Amazing.
Wow. So to somebody that has never heard of human design before, but you've piqued their interest, what is human design?
Right. So to explain it to somebody who knows nothing about it, number one thing is you could think of it like a user manual to yourself, which you have never been given before. So because you're born into your family, your society, and the country you're part of, as we're born, and especially until, from 2 to 7 years, we get all this conditioning about how we should exist, all the things we should do. We're taught things. And because our brain waves are in a state where it's like children are like meditating, they're just absorbing everything without their mind questioning. It just sinks in all this conditioning, and you become the you are today, right? With all the good things and bad things, and the you that you are. But that conditioning usually makes a lot of people miserable, because they're living up to some standards, trying to live up to expectations, their own expectations, and maybe from those around them. And they're not necessarily very happy, making the right decisions, always feeling this anxiety, some fears going on. So human design is actually how you were designed to be in this world. If you didn't get all that conditioning, who are you really? So how can you align with your true self and get rid of all that conditioning to live the authentic you? So it's the map to that.
Wow. Well, sounds intriguing. I don't know that many people that would not want to get their hands on a manual like that. So I guess the next question would be, where did it come from? Where did the manual come from?
Well, just like Agris was sharing in the beginning, the information just landed. It was like channeled through the messenger of human design. His name is Ra Uruhu, and he was actually a person of the business world. I think he's Canadian by origin. And then he was also like, all this business world and everything. I guess he was overwhelmed with that, and he went to Ibiza, where he was handed down the information. So that's the more esoteric bit of it. And then he calls something the voice. He called it the voice. Whether it was a voice or not, we don't know. But our minds can only make meaning out of what we can actually call something. So he called it the voice. And he was channeled this information. And for years, he didn't speak about it to anybody, because he feared that people would think he was crazy. And then he started speaking about it, and then he established a school, and then the interest came, and it's just expanding, enormously. There's so much interest in it, because a lot of people they want to be aligned to their true self. Everybody's looking for that. There are a lot of tools. This is one of the great tools that I have found, really.
Yeah, but I learned human design, and I'm a big supporter of human design. And I think these days, like, especially when Ra Uru channeled that, it was like really like those days that channeling wasn't really the name that's why I think he was like embarrassed in a way, like, oh, can I say it, because people will think I'm like just a madman, right? And maybe he even said about him, like, I'm a madman, right? Somehow it sounds in my brain like this, but these days I think we start to accept those things.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Humankind is waking up. So we're looking, so just like I was saying, what our brain can grasp and how we're wired we're this limitless beings, but at the same time, we have limits around what we can actually observe in life, what our mind can say, this is it, right? All the things we can't know, like the world is turning around, right? Do we feel it? No. Does it exist? Yes, but we're wired to not know it. Otherwise, we'd be very dizzy. So all these things, the dark matter and everything that we can't really grasp with our brain, we just thought in the beginning, like science was the key. If you can't prove it, if your mind doesn't get it, it wasn't right. Yes, that's how humanity, especially back in those years, that was the hype, I guess. But now I do feel like we're waking up. A lot of people looking for some spirituality, doing soul searching, meditations, heart-brain coherence. There's so many things out there but people are trying because they want to know. So that's why it's very widespread, even in the business world, right? So it's just getting so much attention.
But just for people to understand who never knew about human design before, that it's not like it's completely new something, because it's in human design, they're wired in lots of knowledge, right? Lots of tools. He just channeled the best way how to explain it, because there is astrology, there is I Ching, there is Akashic. It's like literally everything what made in perfect way of explaining that manual, as you said.
Yeah. So it's the synthesis of some modern and some ancient wisdom that's out there, really. And he was just handed the information, and he didn't put all of it out, but I think he was also, in time, he did different lessons, trying to share it with people. And the thing is, people started experimenting with it, because this is not like, okay, I learned it and I'm done. And especially, for human design, you need to start your own experiment, really experience it, live it, and then you see how the world changes for you. That's why I was even drawn to it more, because when I started learning about it, and then I started applying it, my own experiment. And it was like, oh my God, when I first found it, I'm like, how do you know all these things about me? All these things that I didn't even know about me, but now that, you're raising my awareness around it, or me reading and my awareness is getting up. Oh, I really do that. Yes, my mind tells me that. Yes, my father told me to work hard all the time. And that's what I do all the time. So all these things you discover and you're like, oh my God, this is so true. And then you experiment with it and things start changing in your life. For me, it healed my personal life. It helped me in my business life. It really did. It helped with the family. So just seeing that, doing your own experiment, you become a believer in it. Yeah? Even small tips people try. And maybe, Agris, you could share your experience, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, I could share, but I'm not going to share in this episode because I want to take out of you as much as possible.
All right.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how, obviously you work in really big company, IT company, as you said, how you integrate your knowings of this BG5, which is the business way of seeing human design, obviously, right? There's some words twisted a little bit, not twisted, named differently, but obviously it's the same teaching, just to understand more business world. So how do you apply this to your coworkers, or do they come to you knowing that you're doing? How do you implement this? It's very interesting.
All right, let me share that. So I'm going to break your question into three, okay, as an answer. Number one is, let me tell you about what BG5 is, so everybody can maybe understand what it is. So BG5 is the business application of the human design system. And it's the more practical application of the human design system to use in business and careers. Because sometimes human design can sound a little bit esoteric to people, and all the stories behind it and the wording used doesn't really click into the business world. And Ra also taught it a couple of times, how the material success can be made in this material world. And then the BG5 Institute, they took the information and made it even more practical. So the wording is more resonant with people. It's more day-to-day language that we use. The esoteric stuff is not that much there, but it's almost helping people start their own experiments and provide them with practical solutions. Okay, this is what the BG5 application is. And I was drawn to that bit because I bring all this business. I've been in the business world. That's what I know, right? So I could integrate it and also, really help people in the business world, help myself first, and then help those around me. And you'll see that we have different types according to BG5. And I am one of the types called an advisor who's here to guide and lead others, actually. So I'm all about the other, actually. So it won't, come out of me trying to do something for myself, but more out of trying to maybe assist others or guide them in a way. So that's BG5. And the other two components. Number one is, how do I use it to actually, how did it help me as a person in the business world? Maybe I can share that, and then I can share, helping others and my team and everything. So for me, it really made a great, because my being changed, the way I am really changed doing my own experiment. I think it was a different me after I started my experiments, not living so much from my mind, not being so responsive and, just taking things in, letting them be, going with the flow, and also honoring my decision-making strategy, which is one of the important components of human design for business, the BG5, which maybe we can speak about later. Honoring my decision-making strategy changed things for me. For example, my type advisors, we have wisdom. So we're like, even when advisors are small, they're like know-it-alls. They're like as if they were grown up and they got small, right? So they have this wisdom, advisor types, but you are not supposed to offer your wisdom to everyone around you unless you're asked. So you really need to be recognized or invited to share your wisdom. If you do share it because you see it, but if you do share it, people won't take it because they don't want to hear it from you at that moment. Then you're labeled as a know-it-all, somebody who judges all the time, type of thing. And it's all with good intentions. You want to help the other. There's something you see that you want to tell them. So I did all of that, and it wasn't perceived very well. All my wisdom went to nothing because people didn't hear, and then you get all these labels. So things started changing when I started honoring my own decision-making strategy. I truly believe I moved faster in my career. I did become a people manager, moving up, managing teams. I don't think I would have gotten it maybe if I was the old me. In a way, it brings this maturity as well when you do. So it definitely helped my career, for sure. And me being the me at the business world. So the second component, how do I use it with my team or all those people around me? The different applications exist, but I know that we're all different. I mean, this diversity and inclusion and how everybody is different, it's a buzzword in the business world, but can businesses really honor that diversity and inclusion? Not really, right? I mean, we talk about it's about gender or, ethnicity a little bit. That's what comes to mind. But can everybody bring their authentic self on the table when they come to work? Usually not. Yes, you try to put them in role descriptions, their expectations. So the business world is lacking there a little bit. And knowing this, I was able to, I think, honor that everybody is different. They don't need to live up to my expectations, okay? Because everybody has their skills, everybody has their gifts. We're all different, right? I mean, I manage a team of salespeople. And then if I, as a manager, said, these are the 5 things that a salesperson should have. And if you don't have it and you don't get the results, maybe you're not that good of a salesperson. I could be judging. That would take my team down, yes? So how do you take people, recognize what they bring and make the most out of it is how I apply it in the business world, okay? So, and anybody, be it the marketing manager that I work with, she's a different type, so I'll honor her skills and what she brings to the table. There's a way of communicating to the people. according to their type. So it's not about this BG5 and human design is not only about understanding yourself, but it's also about understanding the other. Because the business world, we don't exist in a vacuum. We're like, it's me, my employee, my boss, the people who I work with, my team, the vendors, suppliers. It's a big thing, right? So it's understanding yourself, but also understanding the other, and how do you respect that and make the most out of it? Because it's business in the end, there's got to be some material results. That was a long answer, but there's so much to say.
So do you know it so well that you can sort of analyze the people that you're working with, or do you try not to do that? Or like, so I'm imagining you have all this wisdom, stored in your head, and you want to use it, you want to apply it in whatever way you can for the best outcome. And obviously in your case, it's for other people, really. It's not for personal advantage. It's for, I want to bring the best out of these people. Do you feel like it's an advantage to, like, when you're interacting with them, to try to get an understanding of what their human design is, or do you just use the general teachings that you've learned to apply to the relationships?
Yeah. So with my immediate team, because they know me personally and they have offered to share their information with me, I do look at their design, which gives me more insights, of course. But unless a person comes and asks me about, oh, what's this thing that you're teaching, or I heard you do a post, unless they come and ask me, I won't go and proactively ask them. Okay. Mm-hmm. Usually I don't. I prefer that they come to me, or sometimes I'll ask their birth information, especially if I have chosen to add them to my team. By the way, I don't make decisions based on anybody's design in the business world. I don't ask, like, if I'm interviewing, I would never ask for somebody's design. But according to my decision-making strategy, if I decided to hire that person and they're part of my team now, then I will say, this is something that I do. I want to put you into the team to see the dynamics, because you can also see the dynamics that play with the team as well. So I'll ask their information. Some want to share, some don't. But my immediate team does. And by knowing, I know what they can bring. I know where their mind can really step in and where their conditioning can really take them down, like take them off track. And I can also tailor how I divide the tasks, also how I communicate with those people in a way, because depending on the type, some people are here, we call them builders, or the generators in human design terms, like Agres, yes. They, and yourself, Mark, you were a manifesting generator set. Yes, we called express builders in the BG5 world. So you guys came here to respond to things. So life needs to bring you things, and then you wait for your gut response to see what to do. So my builders in my team, I have to be asking them questions so they can respond to me. Otherwise, how would we, how could they make the right decision for themselves? Or I have another type, an initiator. They're only 7% of the world, and they don't like to be told what to do. Okay. And like, instead of a question mark, you'd rather make a statement to them. Or like, you wouldn't say, if one of my colleagues is like that, and I wouldn't say to her, I don't think you're feeling well today. Would you like me to take you up for a coffee? Like, let's say, I wouldn't say it. I'm like, I'm going for a coffee, come if you want. That's a statement. And then if she's feeling like it, she might come. Okay, so that's a way of tailoring things a little bit. So yes, I really use it. And then we also have team dynamics information. We have something called the Penta that we can put people in a team, see the mechanics that work behind. That all comes when you can actually see the charts. So immediate people, I definitely will look.
Insane. It's so much awareness. I would say it's lots of awareness in that knowings, and how to, what do you think if the business world would really had this awareness to implement this awareness, this knowings into their life, daily work? I think it would be great outcome.
Yeah, it would be a game changer. And the good news is there's so much interest now from the business world in human design. Yeah. And awakening begins one by one. So it really begins with the individual, but because we have all these people in the world who are waking up, who are increasing their awareness, understanding this realm, with whichever tools that they're using. You know, people take different routes, obviously, but there's so much interest. So one by one, people wake up, they're interested, and then they want to take it back to the business world, because we spend a lot of time, especially many people work long hours to make a living. And you if you were happy in it, you would be thriving. Yes. So much needed in the business world. So much interest these days.
Yeah. You're talking a lot about these days. And because obviously, I know you have actually YouTube video where you have like lecture about that, I think like for 1 hour, maybe even more. And I'm going to share it with the podcast as well, so people actually can go into that. But can you say a small like glimpse where we are as a humanity right now and where we are going according to human design?
Yeah. So the theme we use is times are changing, which we all feel times are changing. Yes. So the world is structured in a way where currently or like it's changing now, but in the past and almost now, we were taught to believe in the bigger organizations. You trusted your government, you trusted your family, you went to school for certain years, you got a job, you lived. So it's all like the individual giving its authority to some higher institution, which this individual believes is for its own, you know, for its best. So that's how we all were raised, right? But now the system is a little bit breaking. Before, like you went to school, you got a job, you paid your social security, you got taken care of, you went to retirement, you took care of your family. So it's all these familial bonds and these institutions and I'll call it the tribe, society taking care of each other, right? And now it's changing because the systems are breaking. The system is definitely breaking. So not everybody believes that whatever government that rules their country is doing the best that's in that individual's interest. Not necessarily are they watching for the good of the people these days. And then there is the financial system, these financial institutions, how the money gets tracked and spent in the world, and that system is now breaking. Yes, we have blockchain. I was listening to somebody, this forum that the world leaders are part of now, and it was some institution, some financial CEO, and she was saying, oh, we're going to discuss how we can regulate the blockchain now. So because they want to regulate it, but it's not regulated now. It's all about these different parts that are actually checking and balancing each other in a way to make a good system, right? So that the financial system is breaking, or it's something is happening definitely. Mm-hmm. So the background frequency is changing, and that's why so many people are soul searching and interested in awareness, because they want to find their individual power, and it's within us. We just need to let it come out, not let our mind clutter everything, our power within. So people are looking for that. And now from that tribal vibe where, you know, it was the big institutions and the society taking care of this, now it's going to be more the power of the individual. That's why we're seeing more people quit their jobs. They don't want to work for big institutions anymore. Gen Z, they don't want to go and work 30 years for a company. They want to work a little bit here, work a little bit there, if possible, not work at all, but make a living. They want to live, right? That's not how it was in the past, but more and more we're seeing it. So the frequency is changing, and we're feeling it for sure, all of us. So that's what's happening. And according to the actual, like the human design knowledge, 2027 is when that I Ching wheel is for 400 year cycle. It's ending in 2027, and we're feeling the vibes around how things are changing. And maybe this is something I always mention, you know, who do we trust in times like this when there's uncertainty?
Mm-hmm.
We only have ourselves to trust. If you honor your own decision-making strategy, you believe that you will be able to make the right decisions for yourself at the right time, and you're honoring yourself, you're empowered to live and to thrive. Yeah. So we only have ourselves to trust.
First of all, that was an incredible answer. So well said. I mean, that just kind of gave me chills as you were saying all that. And I feel like if there is a calling going on, that's the calling that I'm hearing. And I think I'll speak for myself, but I think Agris is in this boat too. That's exactly where we feel like we are trying to show up in the world right now, because that's what I'm hearing. You know, the spoken word and the unspoken word is no one knows who to trust anymore in religion, in politics, in families. I mean, everyone is like the old system that maybe there was some question of whether this worked or it didn't. Now there's no question anymore. Now it's become very clear, crystal clear, that the systems are crumbling, and we don't need to get all panicked and worried and upset about that. We just need to actually, if there was ever a time that it was more important for us to get clear and to get centered, it was now. And then also, you know, the other point that you made about everybody's looking for answers, this is what the conversation that Agris and I have, like literally every other day, is how can we show up in the world in a way where we can empower other people to get those answers from themselves? And that's a brand new way of operating in this world, when we're, like you said, conditioned to get answers, to give our authority up to other people, other individuals, and expect them to make the right decisions for us. So it's, I wouldn't say that it's an easy task, because now it's like people have to learn how to do that, which I'm hoping you can bring into the conversation. And also trust in themselves, right? Because I realize even as we try to share this message with other people, I think people get excited about it, but then they're quickly ready to give their authority up again. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think personally, and I'd like to hear your input on this, I think personally that we're not ready. Some of us don't feel ready to have that much responsibility. Like, and you know, it's almost like it's easier to like if things go wrong, we can at least blame it on the government. We could blame it on, you know, the other people that we hand our authority over to. But now when we take ownership and we step into our own authority, if things don't go so well, we have to take responsibility for that. And so, you know, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's a great way of putting it. So it's like you have to take responsibility for your life. Everybody does, because our mind is easier to blame. The blame game is the easy part. You know, I'm like this because my parents raised me this way, you know, because I was born in an emerging country that, you know, that wasn't so rich. That the blame game is so easy, but because then it's not about you. It's all about the others, why you are in the state that you are today. And probably you're not happy, you know, because you're not honoring your true self while doing that. And now is the time to take that responsibility. And because the systems are breaking down, many people are looking for this. They're looking for that happiness, especially during COVID. We all saw, like, it's not about the money. You know, if you have your health, and then you can thrive, and happiness is inside you. Even like, you know, do you get the vaccine or not? Everybody was saying something else. No, who do you trust, right? And then everybody had to make their own decision. You know, I'm going to take it. I'm not going to take it. This is how I want to live it. That was like a starting point, I think, for everybody in the world. You know, most of the people had to make a decision for themselves and take responsibility for it. Yes. Right. And one thing is, not everybody is here to wake up. So like according to human design, by the way, Ra thought it's about only 4% of the people that will actually awaken.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And he says, it's not, especially like, this is part of my teacher training as well. Like if a person is really looking for that enlightenment, for that awareness, they really want to do it, then you can guide them. Otherwise, we can't go and wake up the world, right? So all those interested will come and listen to this podcast and everything you're saying, and maybe they find something that they can respond to or be invited into, so that they can tackle along to actually make it. So that's the hard part. But the good thing is so many people are looking for it now, because the vibes are changing and they want to. So everybody wants to honor themselves a little bit. I feel that, yeah. There are some trends like in China where people were doing, because they need to work hard, and they're sold this idea that if they really worked hard, they could make a good living and make it good for their families. And then people saw they just keep on working, and what they were promised is not happening. Some people stop. They don't do anything to make a bare minimum. It was a trend that took place in China where people don't work anymore. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get there. You told me a lie. I'm working and I'm not happy. So if I make bare minimum living, I'm okay. So some people are even choosing that. But yes, so we have to take responsibility. A lot of people want to. And you guys are doing a great job with these podcasts to help those, who are looking for it.
Well, if it's true what he says, 4% takes a lot of pressure off, right, Agris?
Yeah, it's like it's just 4%. So like we don't have so much audition anyway. So right, so it's like whoever will, like 4%. Actually, it's a lot of people. Let's be honest.
Yes.
We are like 8 billion, I think, on this planet Earth. So it's still huge numbers. But
and you'll attract the people who are on your fractal. If you, apart from the physical beings of us, we're also vibrations. Yes, that's what the quantum theory tells. So that vibration in us, with your being, how you vibrate changes, and you attract people that vibrate at the same level as you. So there'll be, and those are people also, you'll be touched by people who are on your fractal. So with this podcast, you will attract all those people who were meant to, come and get it. And there are a lot of sources out there now, right? With the widespread of everything being available to more people, and more people interested in sharing their wisdom as well, putting it out there.
I'm really honoring human design wisdom, and obviously BG5 as well is the part of human design. And I lately realized for myself that I honoring really all those wisdoms where they calling back to themselves, really to take that authority within and get out of that theme of illusion, because I think that's what was the call, that we've been sold illusion for many centuries, right? 400 years, like 4 centuries, we've been sold illusion, because that was the frequency of the time which we are still in. But people start to wake up from the illusion that, oh, that was just illusion, like a fairy tale story sold to us.
Exactly.
And I really I hope me and Mark, we can bring more and more people on this podcast who really give that wisdom for that, how to gain that authority back to themselves. What is their strategy and authority to sit within, and how to take those decisions for themselves. I think it's like, if you can touch base a little bit, about that would be great.
All right. It's complicated, of course, to get to the details, but very high level. None of the decision-making strategies in BG5 or human design are in the mind. Number one thing, you don't make decisions with the mind. So now that's a hard thing to take from all the educated people in the world, because we were always taught to think it through. Yes. To make the best decision, weigh your options, look at the numbers, all that. That was how we were brought up as humanity. But yes, the number one, decision-making doesn't take place from the mind, because your mind is full of all the conditioning that you got, right? And it's really hard to discern whether it's the right thing, it's the correct thing for you or not. The other thing is, all the decision-making strategies are resident within your body. So different places. And there's also a flow of how that decision-making should take place. Like for builders or generators like you two, you have to respond. Yes. So number one thing is you wait for life to bring something to you. And that's the way your aura or your energy already works. You will attract whatever you think, will start materializing in your life. And if I asked you, I'm sure you could give me many examples of how that's happening. You're like a magnet. That's the way the energy works. Open aura attracts things. That's 70% of the world is builders, by the way. And they came here to work, love what they do what they love. That's why they're here, all the builders. So the way it works is you should respond. So your energy works that way. You will attract it into your life. Once it's there, you respond from your gut. And I'm not that type, so I don't know the bodily feeling, but they usually explain it like somewhere here in your gut, you will have that feeling. And they would even say it can actually make a noise that says aha or okay. It takes practice to get it tuned to the noise, but people who are experimenting with it say they can hear it. But we have been taught to disregard it. Like when small children, like, do you want to eat meatballs? Like, or they're like, oh, they make all these noises, and then we teach them to say yes, please, no, thank you. And they don't respond that way anymore. So we teach children to ignore their gut response and to speak like the way it would make that sound, actually. So that's the way it works. Something comes to your life, you respond with your gut feeling. One small nuance is people who are emotionally defined, they shouldn't make decisions in the moment, but they should wait for an emotional clarity. Sometimes they can be up, sometimes they could be down. So you don't want to make decisions in your up and down. You wait for your gut response, and then through an emotional clarity is when you make a decision. So that's one way. I'm an advisor. We're like 21% of the population, projectors in human design terminology. We have different decision-making strategies, but the most important thing again for us is to get that recognition or invitation. Yes, so I wouldn't go out and make a podcast of my own. I've received an invitation to this podcast, and then I listen to my instinct at that moment. Mine is a little different, but it's like after I get an invitation or a recognition, something inside me will tell me whether it's correct or not for me. So when I received that email from Agres, I'm like, yes. So I felt it. So then that's how I make my strategy. And it's hard for somebody who has learned to go out and make things happen. We're taught that way, yes? That's what education says. You can make, anything you want, you can make come true. Go out and make it happen. That's what we're taught. And then I teach people, and I had to learn to honor myself that I should wait for that recognition and invitation. And then I go ahead. So these are the different, like a couple of examples around. There are many different variations as well, according to design, but these are the major ones that I could mention about. So none of it is from the mind. There's a flow, and there's some body intelligence telling you to make the right decision, by the way, at the right time. So it might be that the decision is correct, but it's not the right time, and you would know.
Yeah. So your decision strategy is intuition, right? So it's like it's the most ancient wired into DNA intuition, which was like intuition for survival, intuition. So you are still, I would say, you are still honoring that really, really ancient way of listening to yourself.
Yes. And if I didn't have this awareness, I wouldn't know, right? Because it speaks so subtly, and it speaks in the moment. After I get that recognition or that invitation, I will have that instinctual something inside me. I don't want to call it a feeling. Feelings, people can give different meanings to what a feeling is. That instinct will tell me it's a yes or a no, or maybe it's not now. It could tell me that as well. And it speaks in very small letters, and your mind is so loud. You should be able to listen to it and to see how you feel. So I had to learn to honor that, and my mind still steps in. You know, I'll go off-road a lot of times, and then I'll tell myself, you did it again, you know, you did it again. But I know how it's, I went off-road, taking the wrong road, because our mind is very smart as well. It can convince us, even through human design, it could convince me I'm doing the right thing. Maybe it was the wrong invitation. Just because I got an invitation, I'm like, I got an invitation, I should do it. For example, I could convince myself if I didn't listen hard enough, or quite enough, maybe is a better word of putting it.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make, because especially for people that are getting introduced to these ideas for the first time, you know, it's so easy to take the basics and make it the truth right away, and then have a lot of confusion that comes from that, right?
Exactly. And I ask people, like, sometimes we make decisions, we weigh the options, you know, we speak to friends, we know we make the best decision. We make a decision, and then we find out it was wrong for us. We know it was wrong. And we say, I knew it. I knew it. If you knew it, why did you make that decision? And who knew it? You're the one who made the decision. So who knew it? If you know, I knew it, you say. So it's your body intelligence that knows, actually, that you're taking the wrong route, and your mind will convince you it's the right thing to do. And then you say, oh, shoot, I knew. So everybody will resonate with that. Anytime I tell somebody, like, yes, I've been there, I've done that. Yeah, we all do.
Amazing. You know how, like, I remember there was this knowledge about that it used to be in intellect. Then during this 400 years, it was really all the time about how important is to use your brain, you know, mind. That's it was like most, I even heard from my father many times, like, think with your brain, you know, don't do things like, think with your brain. You are a smart guy, you have to think with your brain. And then I come back in 40 years, let's say, you know, and somebody's like, oh, actually your intelligence comes from emotions. Like, emotional intelligence these days is like very important faculty, right, to take decisions. It's like, oh man, like, so we move on from that state of
very hard. It's a tough thing, because it's maybe what makes us different from all the other living beings on this planet. It was our brain that kind of outweighed, and how we were able to master everything else with that brain power and intelligence that we had. And then we were fed wrong things as well, all that conditioning, which is not necessarily true, but we know inside, you know, so your mind will tell you something, and something inside you says no. It happens a lot of time. So honor that, whatever is inside you. Call it the gut feeling, call it instincts. It's different for everybody. Or you know, like, there's this energy pulling you towards that, right? Something comes out of you when you respond. So you know it's the right thing.
So I have a question for you. So imagine for a second, we meet in a coffee shop, and I say to you, you know, we just start chatting it up, and we're having a nice conversation. You explain to me a bit about this stuff, and now I'm super excited about it. And I'm like, I want to know all the stuff that you know, and I want to know how to integrate it into my life so I can make a better life. Where do I go, and how long would I have to expect for it? Like, how long would I have to study this, or what's the process? I mean, imagine, like, you've been doing this for how long now?
It's been 7 years now, I think.
7 years. So try to remember, like, when you first started, like, brand new to the, like, I'm picking up that enthusiasm and that excitement that you felt when you were first introduced to it. So imagine that's me. What would you tell me? Where would I start, and how long would it take me until I could start really experimenting with this and integrating it into my life?
All right. So I think my recommendation for anyone who's interested is, to get a fast start. If you wanted a fast start to start your experiment, it's always good to get like either a career design overview, or the human design. We have readings or analysis, which will somebody who is actually certified, and make sure everybody do work with somebody who's really certified from authorities like the International Human Design School or the BG5. because the knowledge is so immense. There are other people who are training, certifying, and all that. And I've heard like stories where there were bad experiences. That's why I'm recommending it this way. But to get a quick reading or a career design overview from somebody can really kickstart you to start learning and plus your own experiments, because then you get to understand what your type is. Are you a builder, an advisor, or like an initiator? We have reflectors as well. And then your decision-making strategy. So if you can understand your career type plus your decision-making strategy, that's about 70% of operating correctly, actually. So that's one way. If you say, I don't want to work with somebody, I want to explore and learn it. There is the book, there's the definitive book of human design, which is available on like Amazon, from Human Design America, depending on the country you're in, but you can get the book, which is like the book that Ra actually wrote with Linda Brunel, who runs the IHDS now. There you can start understanding like what's a builder, what's an advisor. Everything is in the book. All the basics are in the book. That's how I started. After I heard about it, I started reading the book. And then I wanted to read more. It wasn't enough. Then if it's not enough, they're also on IHDS, on the BG5 Business Institute, the business application, there's like the BG5 Live, there's a YouTube channel. There are lots of articles there on BG5BusinessInstitute.com and on the IHDS, the Human Design School as well. You could, anybody who's interested could be reading those or watching those, the live sessions and all the webinars that are out there. And if that's not enough, like for Agris it wasn't, you can come to the official classes to learn more. At BG5, we do the more practical version, as I said. It doesn't have to be really applied in the business world, but it's a more practical approach to learning it. There are foundation courses, and then those who are interested, they continue into being consultants to help others in this. So there's a lot of things out there. Just make sure you're not just reading. A lot of people are also want to share it, and with little information, people start sharing too much on the internet. So just be careful, like you're taking the just reading through and following through on, people who were certified or like the Jovian archive, by the way, is one thing that Ra's family, I think, runs it now. They actually have all the information, and they have a lot of free resources as well for those who are interested.
That's a good disclaimer, generally speaking, too, because I feel like we're entering into the age of, I don't know what you want to call it.
Disinformation age.
Yes. Okay. That's a good one. Yeah. I mean, there are no requirements. There's no prerequisites to opening up your own YouTube channel or podcast or, Instagram account and taking bits and pieces of really great systems that are out there and just generalizing it and sort of diluting it and putting it out there. I don't know. That's just a general statement. So it's great that you bring that up, because I feel like, and that was honestly when Agris and I came up with the idea to do this podcast. That was a decision that we made. We want to bring the experts on. We want to get to know people. We want to get to know the system that they're using, how it works for them, and it was never meant to be like, look at us, we're the experts, everything that we say is gospel, and if you want to live a happy spiritual life, then listen to us. It was really more of, these are the conversations we're going to have about. But we do see a lot of that, so it's worked into our conversations quite a bit, just how that's out there. So it's a good disclaimer.
Yeah. Isn't it that even at Human Design, it says that for you, when you start experiment, really, it takes at least 7 years. And now I don't want to scare off people to start to experiment with themselves, because there's always the time to start. But it takes 7 years, to actually to integrate it, everything within, and you are now 7 years into this. So how do you feel?
Oh, yes, I feel so much better than when I started. Yes. I know like happiness is something within me that I can tap into anytime. I have the confidence to know that I can make the right decisions for me at the right time if I don't let my mind just, jump in there, if I'm careful about it. And the deconditioning process or the experiment is not something to be scared of, because like if you jumpstart, you start learning about your type and how you make decisions, that just like I said, it's 70%. If you can honor that, there's going to be so much improvement in your life. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. And also just understanding like immediate family, maybe co-workers, people around you. Because when I start speaking to somebody about their design and they start knowing it a little bit, they immediately want to know their immediate, people they interact with a lot, because then you can also understand the other, who are obviously very different from you, but then we can all respect each other in that way. I've had many friends like judging their children. Why is my son, everybody's kids are playing basketball, they have so much energy. My son, he just wants to sit home. I've met people who are mothers who are so unhappy. Why are their children like this? Or he won't say good morning to the gentleman in the elevator in the morning. He's all like standing back, but that's the way the kids' energy work. And that shouldn't be expected of him. This initiator type, they have like a repellent aura that pushes. They're 7%. I had a friend who had such a son, and she's so upset because he's not like that warm, and all the kids are so warm and this one is different. She's upset, or he doesn't have the energy. Everybody's playing basketball and he isn't, but he's different. Just to understand that, and he's not like you or all the other people around you, it just helps so much. So it's nothing to be scared of. You got to start somewhere. And then there are layers and layers of awareness, of understanding and conditioning that you find out as you go on through your own experiment. I've seen people who take it to the extreme. I've seen people who take their time, but see how it feels for you. Everybody is different. So you have to honor how it feels correct for you.
Yeah, beautiful. Like I had that class with you 1 year ago, and when I looked back to our personal, when you did this BG5 reading for me, and I looked back that record 1 year ago and was like, wow, like now I can listen to this even with new information. It's like feeling like, oh, somehow I was applying this and now I can see how that plays out. And it's so interesting how the time heals also. It's not like we can just baba, we are healed in 1 day, let's go. No, time does the magic, right? It just, you allow it to come in front of you and see those things. Obviously, this is how I design, right? To let it come and reveal one by one in front of me. But it's
that's like whenever I do like a career design overview with somebody, it's just a 90-minute session. I usually run over, like I'll do 2 hours usually, but it's a 2-hour session. I record it and I tell them, I'm going to record this. And these are the things you told me in the beginning that you wanted to address. We're going to record this. Listen to it every, like once in a year, every 2 years, or when you feel like you need to listen to it. And every time you listen to it, you'll find something new for yourself in it. Because the you that's listening to you is a different you every time you listen to it. And maybe you also raise your awareness and some things will come obvious to you. So whatever you got to get out of it, you will. So that's why we record and make those available to people. Yeah, it's a lifelong process. Yeah,
it's amazing what you do, and thank you for so much for that. You got this recognition in you, and you say yes to this masterpiece which you are spreading as a wisdom right now, and we appreciate so much what you are doing. And hopefully we can bring you back in some time, and maybe you can give even more to our people, who are listeners. And I'm really grateful for you to come, accept invitation, be here with us for this 1 hour of podcast. Mark, do you want to say something as well before we let go?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful. I'm excited. I know when Agris first told me about human design, I had never heard of it before in my life, and he's just starts sending me like little, I guess, little pieces of information based on my design, because it meant nothing to me when I pulled it up, because I didn't understand it. And I was like, wow, wow. And I've already seen how just those little pieces of information, and I'm telling you, it's just literally scratching the surface, has changed the way that I operate in life day to day. So I could only imagine when you dive into the deep end, like you have a full reading and a full understanding of how, you're designed and how that can benefit you in your life. So, but you did a really great job explaining so many things. You really brought great insight, and I'm super grateful. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the invitation. It felt so correct for me to be here as well. So I'm grateful for that. And I'll be happy to be back, because there's so much to it. I'm so happy to spread the world. It just pours out of me. And I get all energized, see how it's all this energy comes out of me when I'm asked these questions. It's so good. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And will be continued.
That's right.
Yeah. And to all the listeners, thank you for taking the time to be here with us.